So as you can see, it's another gorgeous day in Halifax today, and I've come out on Rachel's bike to see what difference that smaller cog makes at the front. And I can tell you that coming up a steep road hill there where I would be in first and second on the standard cog that comes with it, I was in third and fourth on this. So so it did make that gear or two difference that I said, but that also means that you will lose that difference at the bottom end. So flying down a fast road, you might find that you spin out, and that's what I'm going to find out today as well, and see if it is too high a gearing for the downhills. Also in this video I'm going to answer a few of the questions that have come through on the channel. So this is just a bit of a follow-up with viewers' questions. One question that I had was in the previous video I mentioned that it would have been nice to have, you know, maybe some bosses down there for some cages, which some bikepacking bags have, and I know they're not marketing this as a bikepacking bike, it's a gravel bike. There's a slight difference in there, you know, marketing bollocks. And I did say that I was having difficulty fitting the rack with this mudguard, so other mudguards might work fine. You know, some mudguards I could actually put some spacers in here, drill a hole through there, attach it there and get rid of this strut here, and then the rack would fit fine with this mudguard. But anyway, to get back to the question was, would Tout Terrain put some bosses on their feet? The answer is no. Tout Terrain, they're not a bespoke bike company, and they have their frames made and they can be configured in different ways, but they don't do, you know, specific bespoke stuff like that, and so that would be no. And that leads on to another question. I did say that you could, if you wanted to, put flat bars on this and get a twist shifter. And you know, it would work really nice as a flat bar bike, and it's something that I'm thinking of doing, not for any reason other than I just love tinkering. Okay, but if you were going to want to convert this into a flat bar, just a couple of things that you need to bear in mind. Obviously you would need to buy the DS2 shifter, but you also need to buy the cable housing for there, because the sync system does it a different way to the twist shifter. That's, you know, that's how they've managed to get it to work. The cable ends on this are here, and on and the cable nipples are in here on this sync system. With the twist shifter, the nipples are on the shifter and you cut it off at the housing, so it's just done in a reverse sort of way. So you would need to buy those. And the other question was, would Tout Terrain do that for you? And again, the answer is no. They only allow the things in their configurator, because when I bought my bike, I knew that there were the new flat mount carbon forks coming out, and I wanted the bike with them. I'm quite happy with the steel ones as they are at the moment, But I did want the carbon ones if they were available, but they weren't available in the configurator, but I knew they were going to come out shortly because they were in the promotional videos that they did when the Scrambler came out. So I asked if I could pay for the carbon forks and then, you know, have them put on when they're available, and the answer again was no, because they weren't in the configurator at that time. They are now in the configurator, so if you go to buy a 2-Tran Scrambler now, you can spec it with the carbon forks if you wish, because I've had a look. They are on there now. But I was told I would need to wait until they became available on the Sync website and buy them separately. So that's just something to bear in mind. You know, they're not a bespoke frame building company. They have their frames made, and then they can configure them in certain ways, but they will not stray away from the configurator. So that's just something for you to bear in mind. So coming up here, I've had to skip over a few little rock gardens, and the bike was fine. Nice ride. Normally I'd be doing it on my mountain bike, and because it's got 3-inch wide tyres, I could just bounce off rocks and stuff, but I rode it all the way up, and I just had to be a little bit more careful about where I was riding and picking my route. But this is just one of the smaller ones. This one's quite easy, but further down there it's quite a big one with bigger rocks in the way, and yeah, I just had to pick a route through, and it was all rideable. Like I say, normally I'd be doing that on my mountain bike and I wouldn't have to be so thoughtful about my route, but yeah. So another question I had involves the UK really, and they were asking where can you test ride these 2-Trans, and what dealer network is there and stuff like that, and how did I buy mine. So they used to have a little bit of a dealer network. There was Bicycle by Design, Bike Fix I think used to do them in London, and then there is Kinetics or Kinesis in Glasgow, and I think there was another one in London as well. So there were 3 or 4 scattered around the country. Now if you go on their websites, they're not that prominent anymore, so I'm not sure whether they're phasing out the dealer side of things in England and going to a direct sales model. You would need to speak to 2-Tran about that. Obviously I don't work for them or anything, I don't know what their business plans are, but all I did was go onto the configurator, put in what I wanted, click on buy, and you do it all through the website. And I know that you part with a lot of money, so you want to have a test ride. Now I think the only option for that might be to actually get over to Germany or some other dealer in France or Europe that deals with 2-Tran. Now I didn't feel too worried about parting with the cash because I've had 2-Trans before. I had the Silk Road, so I sort of like knew what I was getting really. But I completely understand when you're parting with £3,000–4,000, you want to make sure that it's the bike right for you, and I can completely understand that, and I would strongly recommend having a go on a gearbox before you part with your cash. I think there was one other question, and that related to removing the rear wheel if you have a puncture, and how do you retension the belt. So I might show you this later on if I find another place to stop. We always like a change of scenery, don't we? But basically it's just take the wheel off, fix your puncture and put it back on. You don't need to retension the belt. And that's the same if you have a pinion gearbox with sliding dropouts. The sliding mechanism is isolated from from where your skewer goes through, so it is just a case of taking your through axle out, take your wheel out, put the belt back in. But remember, like I say, you don't twist the belt. So I think I'll show you. I'll show you how to do it. That would be better, wouldn't it? But other than that, we just need to find out if I'm spinning out on the downhills, don't we? Now, I just wanted to clarify this as well. Please remember that when I'm talking about, I don't want to spin out on the downhills and I want an easy gear, these pinion gearboxes offer you the widest range you can have with any system. So you can tailor this to whatever you want to ride. I don't want you thinking, he's talking about a range of gears, I might stick with a derailleur. Remember, derailleur systems, they've got a range of 400 and odd percent. The 1x12 systems that are coming out now, they've got a range of 500%, a little bit more maybe. The C12 gearbox, range of 600%, and the P18 gearbox, it's over 600%. So when I'm talking about this, I'm being greedy, really. I'm just wanting to find the range that suits where I ride round here, and it's going to be a lot easier to do that with a pinion gearbox than it is with any other system. You've always got to choose, do I want the easiest gears or do I want the hardest gears? And with a pinion gearbox, you have that biggest range, so you can try and encompass more of them with any other system. So that's what I mean by that. So don't think it's a negative of the system. This is a bonus of the system. You've got the biggest range, so you can really fine-tune how you want your ride to be. So let's have a little more of a tootle, and I'll see if I can find a spot, and I'll show you how we take the rear wheel out, and job's a good one. So just in case you are curious about, my experience with gearboxes, and roll-offs and stuff like that, what experience do I have? I can just quickly run through that. So my first experience of a gearbox hub was the roll-off. I had that built up for me. It was a Surly Ogre, really, really nice. Then I got a Pilot titanium pinion P18 Pilot Vamos, and that was a lovely bike. I spent a hell of a lot of money on that bike. Now that was a lovely bike, but it was the wrong type of bike for me at that point. I keep on buying these expedition type bikes thinking it means I'm going to retire and cycle around the world. I keep on forgetting that I've got to do this work bit in between. So I keep on buying all these bikes with all these bits on ready to just go off. But yeah, so I had that, and then I sold that, and then I built up my own roll-off bike. So I just bought the Silk Road frame from Bike Components, and I got a Silk Road frame from my partner as well. I built my partner's up 3x10, and because I use my bike more often, because I don't own a car, I use it every day, I built mine up with the roll-off, and I did that all myself. Sun dynamo hub, sun lights and everything, it was lovely. I put a belt drive on that after a while, and that worked perfectly. And then I got the Pinion Outback by Tuteran, and now I've got the Pinion Tuteran Scramblers. And then I've also got the Bromptons that have an internal rear hub, Sterney Archer. So quite a bit of experience with the gearbox systems. And what I really love about them is just that lack of maintenance. Now I am a bike tinkerer, and I do maintain my derailleur bikes well. And I love tinkering with bikes, as you can probably tell from my videos. But I do just love the fact that you get on these and you just ride them and you don't have a care. And what I really love is the cleaning. So because there's no oil that can migrate anywhere and get all over your frame, when you're cleaning your bike and then part of your cloth touches the top tube and you get a bit of oil in your top tube, then you're having to go back and clean that. You don't have any of that when you're cleaning these bikes. And because there's no oil that migrates anywhere, you give these a hose down and a bit of a wipe, a bit of a polish every so often, and they look like new again. It's crazy. Because it's that oil that migrates everywhere from a chain and derailleur that just clogs everything up and gets everything messy. And you'll know if you've got a derailleur bike, that the chainstay just gets absolutely caked in oil, doesn't it? No matter how careful you are putting a drop on each link and wiping it off after a while. And after a while that doesn't come off and it just starts to look grubby. These just look new all the time, which is really, really nice. Anyway, like I say, it's a beautiful, beautiful morning. It's about 11 o'clock. And it's about 23 degrees. I think tomorrow, Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, it's going to be 27 degrees, 25 on Tuesday, or is it the other way around? 25 Monday, 27 Tuesday, that's it, and Wednesday about 25 as well. So we've got a good few days coming up of beautiful weather here in Calderdale, Halifax. So yeah, I'll just tootle on down the hill, and if I find a place I'll show you how we take that rear wheel out. And then I think I might get home because my partner made a beautiful like broad bean, mint and pea pastry type thing. And we had half of it last night and I'm going to have the other half today for my lunch. Okay, you want to see how easy it is to remove a belt drive. Let's get this microphone higher up so you can hear me, I think. So, you've got a puncher, you're out on the trail, you've got your multi-tool with the Allen key. You just take the through axle out. Pull the wheel, just slide the belt off, and that's it. So then you fix your tyre as you normally would. If you've got tubes, put a new tube in. If you've this is tubeless, so you might want to put a plug in, or put a tube in anyway. And then to put your belt back on, it's simply just line it up at the front there, line it up, get your wheel, put that through, line it up on there, and then just slide it in. Job's done. Like I say, easier than messing around with a chain, getting your hands all dirty on the chain, then try to line it up with your derailleur, moving the derailleur out of the way. It's a lot easier. Like I said, the only thing you just need to be careful of is that when you are messing around with your belt, you don't kink it in that direction. You don't try and roll it on like you would do a chain. Remember, these fibres, carbon fibres, are running in this direction to give it super strength in that direction. But just like a chain, if you was to bend a chain in that way, you're going to break your chain, you're going to bust it, you're going to split a link, or just get it running really badly. And it's the same with this belt. If you was to push it that way, you're going to snap those carbon fibres that run that way, so you're going to weaken the belt. You're not going to break it there and then probably, but you are going to weaken it, just like you would do a chain. But that was so simple, wasn't it? And yeah, like I say, you just line it up, and if ever your belt was to come off, and it shouldn't do, but you never just try and prise it on, take the wheel off, put it back on like that, like I just showed you, and the job's a good one. But yeah, never just roll it on like you would do a chain, because then you are going to damage those fibres that are running in that direction. But hopefully that just proved that is just so simple to do. And it is the same if you've got a system with sliding dropouts, because the through axle is isolated from the slider. So once that slider's set, it's set. You don't need to retension this once once you've done that, once you've fitted it. I did come down on the road on Rachel's bike and it was fine. For the speeds I'm travelling at, I think I'm going to get more of a benefit by putting that smaller one on. But please remember, like I said, this cog here is perfect for all the roads and stuff. I'm just thinking, you've seen the type of off-road we do. It's not just gravel tracks. It's quite technical in places, and that easier gear when you pause in, and then you can change it down while you're stationary. You know, another advantage of the Pinion. And then you can just get out of a tricky situation. And like I said, normally I'm commuting on this and I'm putting on laptops and stuff every day, going up 20%ers. So yeah, I'm just gonna, I can give it a try, can't I? And if it ends up being too easy, then I can always put this back on. But so what we do, the procedure. What I'm going to do first of all is take the rear wheel out. You've seen how we do that. Then unscrew this, prise the crank off. You just prise it off gently. You don't start whacking it or anything. Just prise it off. Unscrew that, holding this ring steady with the belt whip, and then you swap it and reverse the procedure. So let's get to it. It shouldn't take too long. Let's have some extra lights. There we go. Hopefully you can now see. So let's remove this wheel. Oh, I forgot about putting the smaller belt in. So yeah, we need to unscrew these and remove the belt and put a different belt on. So that's that off there. Put that to the side. Let's remove this. So these are tightened to 10 Newton. Is it Newton meters? Newton, and that is also tightened to 10 Newtons. The centre thing there. Big boy Allen key for that one. Undone enough. There we go. Just prizes off. Nice and gentle. There we go. So that's that off. So the next bit is to remove this. Now, no matter which way you turn it, it's going to move. This is the pinion tool here, and you tighten this up, back up to 40 Newton meters. You can see, let's move that belt out of the way. You can see that this spins round, so you need some way of holding this. So this is where the belt whip comes in. I just need to get my spanner. So to split the frame on this bike, you need one of these tools. You could just use a long screwdriver. It's one of those slotted fittings on the other side. But I've got one of these that does the job. Just a bit easier than using a screwdriver. You'll see what I mean when I get it off. I'll show you. So on the two-to-round, that's what the other side is like. I don't know why it's not an Allen head on the other side as well. You could replace them so they're both Allen heads if you wanted to. So that's that off. So all we do now is we just split the frame there. Remember to be gentle with this belt. side that feels come out. Remember to be gentle with that sideways movement of the belt. I have to incorporate my head on this, and we just slide it through like that. So that's the belt off, and I'll put the new one on shortly. But I just got that out of the way so it wasn't messing with me when I was doing this. So let's have another go. There we go. Just needed to get the belt out of my way, it was doing my head in. So, just unscrew that. And there will be a little silver washer. So you've got that nut off there, and then there's a little silver washer that you can't forget to put back on, which is just there. So that's that cog off. So that's the original, and that's the new one. So there's already, because this is new, there's already enough grease and everything around here, so I don't need to do anything there. It's really nicely greased up. So that just sits on there. These are still full of clean grease, so I don't need to put any new stuff on there. It's still nice and clean. And then put that on. And then remember, this is opposite thread, so normally you would be going that way to tighten, but it's anti-clockwise to tighten this. And it did say 40 Newton. Now my torque wrench doesn't go up to 40, I don't think. Let's have a gander. No, it goes up to 24. So, but I did, you know, I could feel the force when I was unscrewing it. So I'm just going to make sure that I put a similar force on here when I'm tightening it up. You know, it was quite hard, wasn't it? So I'm just going to make sure it's quite hard again. So there we go. So that's the cog on. Might as well put the crank back on now. It does say put some carbon assembly paste on here. Now there is, again, this is new. There is still some on here, but I'll just put a little bit more on, because this part is going to take a lot of hammer into it when it's hitting all those rocks and grass when you're on them single tracks. So slide that on. This centre cog, this centre bolt here, it doesn't work like, you know, normal cranks. You use it as your compression, feel for play and then tighten up those. Tighten this up to 10 meters, I believe. So I can test this with my torque wrench. So it's already set to 10. So you tighten this to 10. There, that's it on 10. And then you prise your crank back a little bit up to that point. It says just relieve it a little bit, just so you don't have any resistance on the bit there, which is fine. And then these two bolts here you tighten up to 10 as well. Now I can't get my torque wrench into this one here, I don't think. I can get it into this outside one. I'm just going to do it with an Allen key. I know how much torque it is. So that's that on now. So the only thing I need to do is put the belt back in and the wheel. So here's the belt, 115T, and I want to make sure it goes on so that I can read that on the outside. I don't think there's any purpose for that, it's just how they always seem to come, so you can read the writing that way. So this needs to try and, so it needs to go on if I'm doing that. Slide that through. Yep, and that's how it would be. So you can read the writing there, and then that's going to go onto our wheel. But first of all, I want to fasten this rear triangle back up, and I'm going to put a bit of thread lock both just on the actual housing for them silver bits. I'm also going to put a bit of thread lock where they screw through as well. So just push the housing back through there. And then just use this tool here to hold them. To hold them in at the back. Just tighten these up. And like say, if you just had a big fat screwdriver on the back, that would work as well. Nice and tight. Here's my axle. Now I am going to have to tension this belt now because this is a smaller belt. I'll put a smaller ring on. That's it, it's done. But like I say, obviously we've now got to tension that belt. We can see here that this belt now is well too slack. So to tension this up now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew that and that on both sides, and then I'm going to tighten this up here, which will slightly, it only does it slightly, you don't even realize how small the movement is, and then it'll tighten that belt because it'll move that down, and then I need to use my phone. I do all my filming and video editing on my phone, so I won't be able to show you this part, but what I've got then is the Gates Carbon app, and you pluck the belt and it tests it for decibels. Turn it quarter, pluck again, turn it quarter, pluck again, and you do 3 readings, and then you know that it's tensioned up properly. And on the Gates app, it tells you how much tension you need to have on that belt for whatever purpose and type of bike you are riding. But I'll be able to show you this part here, and then like I say, I'm afraid I'm going to need to use the app. So unscrew that, do the same on the other side. Now previously I have unscrewed these, but I'm just wondering if it will just actually rocker on there as well. So let's just see. But all I'm doing is tightening this up, so it's pushing that foot down and just moving the gearbox down slightly. Nearly there. So I think that's close now. So all I'm going to do is test this using the app, and then tighten them up to 10 Newton meters. So that's the process. I'll just test it now and then I'll just summarize it. Okay, so I've just used the app and I've tightened this to about 50 Hertz, which it says is what you need to do for internal hub gears and the pinion gearbox. So now it's just a case of tightening these up to 10 Newton meters, and it's that, and that if you do it in that order. Set to 10. And then all I do to finish it off is just make sure that that's just touching the gearbox there. So that's it. Gear changed. By the way, I just remembered, next weekend I'm going to be doing the oil change on my Tutran Outback, so if you're interested in that, I'll be recording that next weekend and be posting that up as well.